Well guys, one of the biggest issues that all the countries are facing today is the regulations on cryptocurrencies. How do they actually regulate it? And if you remember, recently, 2018, this year only, there was a summit, G20 summit, where the top countries in the world coming together and they discussed the regulations, finance and everything else. And it looks like the South Korea is going to follow G20 unified cryptocurrency regulations. Now this is something that I didn't even know. I thought that G20 nations are not even talking about cryptocurrencies. I thought they are not making any regulations, they are not making any rules. But as per this news, this says that in fact G20 is actually working on the regulations for all the countries, and they are going to present it by July. So here if you read this, it says financial policy makers of G20 nations have set a July deadline for the first step towards unified regulations of cryptocurrencies. And one reason for that move by the G20 is that they see cryptocurrencies as too small to jeopardize. So by July, and interestingly, that's also the deadline for, I think that's also the 17th of July is also the date for the RBI and Supreme Court to come up with a decision on cryptocurrencies in India. So this is interesting. So what really I found interesting, that if the G20 nations are drawing regulations, and if you look at the countries which are a part of the G20 are Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, and even India, right? So even India is a part of the G20 nations. So if the G20 as a whole is drawing rules, regulations, and looking at the regulations, then why India becomes a part of it by default? And so what is it that is stopping India actually to come up with a decision of RBI like stopping, So this is something which is unique, but I'm not really sure whether this is true or this is not true, because I was really shocked to see that this G20 is actually drawing a unified regulations for all the countries. So at least the countries which are there which are part of the G20, that is at least these 20 countries have already got know what needs to be done with the cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, which is amazing. And South Korea has been one of those countries which is going to follow the G20 unified cryptocurrency regulations. So will India do the same, or will they take a different decision? If they want to take a different decision, well, I think they assume that they are probably better than the rest of these countries which are there in G20. And mind it, there are some of the developed countries out there in this G20 nations. So you're talking about Japan, South Korea, Canada, China, France, and of course China, interestingly, is also a part of it, but still they haven't come up with any regulations on Bitcoin. So that is very interesting. The next one, and which is very, very like eye-opening, is one of the bank in Japan called Mitsubishi Bank is actually going to launch their own cryptocurrencies. Now this is something that I was expecting. One thing is for sure, that once the cryptocurrencies become mainstream, everyone starts using cryptocurrencies, all these banks will go out of business. These banks will shut down because all of a sudden nobody is using fiat money. So what are the other business options that they have right now? What is the source of revenue for them right now? Borrowing money from customers, and not really from customers, but from people like us, and then lending it to industries and to other people and earning interest. Now, once everybody moves to crypto from fiat, that would not be possible. So what do these banks do? They have to come up with a different business model. So one of the bank from Japan, and by the way, this is also the top 5 banks in the world, Mitsubishi, which I just came to know about, because Mitsubishi, I think I've heard of a car and some electronic products. I didn't know that they have a bank as well. So they are going to launch their own cryptocurrency. Japan bank giant Mitsubishi goes crypto with own coin, and they are launching this coin called MUFG coin by 2019. So they have somehow seen that if they don't adopt cryptocurrencies, they'll go out of the business, and they want to do something or the other. And this is a quite feasible business model, because if you see, a lot of companies are issuing their tokens, right? And so probably why not even a bank, because bank, the truth is the bank have a lot of trust from people. So what if they could adopt this blockchain technology and come up with their own tokenized system? So I'm sure people are going to accept it and use it, and that way also these banks which are adopting technology will not go out of the business at all. So, and also this is also interesting because Japan has somehow, they always see what is the future. Now Japan was the first country to legalize Bitcoin payment methods. Can you believe that no other country actually did that? In every country like Australia, US, not even US, I guess US is just there on the verge of it, Australia and South Korea, they came after that, but it was first country, Japan, which legalized, and it is the first bank which is of Japan which is going to issue their own cryptocurrencies. So this kind of a signal as to where we are actually heading in future. Amazing to see this news. The last one I want to share, this is also something that I discussed about yesterday on my live, is that there have been 5 petitions, not just one, 5 petitions against RBI's decision on crypto ban. What it actually means is the crypto community in India is pretty strong, and everybody really wants that government adopt this technology. Interestingly, and I tweeted something this morning over here. If you're not following on Twitter, I urge you to definitely check this out. And my tweet was this: it's quite funny that, in fact, it's hilarious that there are 5 petitions against RBI. What is happening here? One second, let me just open this up. Right, so yeah, so it's weird that people have to convince government to do the right things for the country instead of government being creative and making these decisions on their own. What I found funny here is that this is blockchain and cryptocurrencies are new technologies, and people really have to fight for it with the government, that, or the RBI rather, say that what, this is great, you should accept it. This is changing the world. All the countries are accepting it. They are prospering it. And instead of government actually saying that, oh, listen people, we have found out this new technology, and this is what you can do, this is what you cannot do. Instead of doing that, it's people who are fighting for it, which is quite weird for sure, in my opinion. And the last one I want to share is the Cnbc. This is one of the reasons why I'm so fascinated with what these countries actually do when it comes to adopting new technology. Even if you look at the international media, for example, Cnbc and Bloomberg and others, they are repetitively talking about cryptocurrencies, and they're talking about a positive. They're not talking about a scam. So in fact, Cnbc actually went ahead and actually created their own coin called DIY coin, and just to experience and research as to how exactly a coin is created and how is it marketed. So this is interesting. Creating your own cryptocurrency, here is what you need to know. So CNBC actually created a coin called DIY coin, and they actually experienced the process as to what exactly it takes. So create a coin, market it, speak to the investors, what are you doing it for, speak to the SEC and find out, and let them know what is the use cases of the coin, and how are you going to raise funds and everything. So interestingly, because these media, the CNBC media, the international media are always a step ahead, wherein the Indian media is still talking about whether it's a scam or not, but they are talking about how someone can create a cryptocurrencies and take an advantage of this new emerging economy rather. So quite interesting. I definitely want to hear and very keen to know your opinion about what do you think about G20's unified crypto regulations. Do you think they are drawing regulations? And if it is that way, and then why these decisions will be taken individual level? Because G20 comprises of almost 20 countries, which even India and China are a part of it. So definitely would love to hear your opinion on this. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Give this video a like, share, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care till then.